What's going on with all this immigration? All around the world, people are moving from one country to another, mainly to big cities, but especially in the United States. People are flooding into the United States suddenly from all over the world, like at a rate that's never been seen. They're coming from all over the world and they're spreading all over, especially the United States. But this is true in many other countries. But in the United States, they're just coming in and flooding in. They're sitting in the streets. They're sitting at airports. They're lining the streets. They've been given money, phones, transportation, luxury hotels. But what is going to be going on at the fall of Babylon? And is all of this part of God's plan? This is not, and I'm not being pro-immigration or against immigration. It has nothing to do with that. What we're going to be seeing here is God's plan, how this is all coming together for the fall of Babylon and the beginning of the tribulation. And we can see this in Jeremiah and in Isaiah at the fall of Babylon and what's going on with these people that are migrating all around the world, and especially in the United States, being spread out across the entire United States. And like I said, they're being provided phones, money, transportation, luxury hotel rooms. They're now demanding them. They're wanting these things. Even the American citizens don't get these things, but now they're demanding these things. But what's going to become of all this? We see this in Jeremiah chapter 51, starting in verse 1. Thus says Adonai, look, stirring up against Babylon and those living in Leb-Kamal. That's another word for Babylon. It says, look, stirring up in Babylon a spirit of destruction. That's what's going on right now. Look, in Babylon, there's this spirit of destruction stirring up. It's being stirred. It's being fermented. It's being readied for the day of the Lord. And in verse 2, listen, saints, and I will send strangers, foreigners, to Babylon. I will send foreigners to Babylon to scatter her and to empty her land. For in the day of trouble, they will be against her all around. Saints, what you gotta see is this is a part of God's plan. And we're to be ready, prepared. We're to get ready. We're to come out of Babylon. Remember what he said in Revelation 18:4? Then I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, come out of Babylon. Come out of Babylon, my people, lest you, listen saints, lest you come out of her unless you participate in her sins. Christians are participating in the lust and the love and the desire and the envy of the world right now. Come out of her, my people, lest you participate in her sins. They're her sins. But so much of the saints are participating in it. And then you receive of her plagues. He's saying, come out of her. And he's got this plan coming up. And he said in Jeremiah, I will send foreigners to Babylon to scatter her and to empty her land. For in the day of trouble, they will be against her all around. Saints, you gotta see, if the United States suddenly falls in 1 hour of one day, all across the United States, we have tens of millions of immigrants. And like I said, this is not pro-immigrant or against immigrants. I want to show you what's going to happen when Babylon falls. And this is all part of God's plan. He said, I will send foreigners to Babylon. And they are flooding into the United States and being sent all across the United States. And they're being given everything they need, even up to luxury hotel rooms. What happens if in 1 hour of one day the United States falls? They are going to be stuck here. And if the United States falls, and the world is so violently and greatly affected by it, that the governments of the world fall, making way for the kingdom of the Antichrist, what are these immigrants in all these countries going to do? They're stuck there, especially in the United States, so there'll be no way to get out. There's going to be these wars and rumors of wars. There's going to be these 200 million man armies as people rise up. But what will these immigrants do in the United States and other cities around the world? They're going to be stuck there. I'm not speaking against them or for them. I'm saying they're going to be stuck in foreign lands, and they're going to have to defend themselves. They're going to have to try to take care of themselves, feed themselves, and it's going to cause great upheaval. I will send foreigners to Babylon. And then we see in verse 6, flee from within Babylon. He's saying flee. Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. There's going to be a pre-tribulation rapture of those that are ready, waiting, watching. That'll be the first fruits of the harvest to come. But those that love the world and the things of the world, that's what he was talking about. Come out of her, my people, lest you participate in her sins and receive of her plagues. He's calling the church to come out. But those that love the world and the things of the world, they'll be stuck here with these things. And these foreigners are spread across the whole earth, and especially in the United States. And think about it, saints. Think about the implications of if the United States falls, the government's no longer there to protect them, to feed them. The gangs will be feeding upon them. They'll be fighting for their own lives. They'll be trying to get food. Flee from within Babylon. Each one of you escape with his soul. We're to come out of her. We're to repent and prepare the way of the Lord. We're to come out. Each one of you escape with his soul. Be not silent in her iniquity, for it is a time of vengeance for Adonai. He will repay her recompense. Babylon has been, listen saints here, what is Babylon and what has happened to it? What has it been up until the fall of Babylon? Babylon has been a golden cup in Adonai's hand, intoxicating the whole earth. The nations drunk her wine, so the nations are going crazy. All the nations are dependent upon the United States. They're drunk on our luxury, on our buying, on our stock markets, on our money supply. They're drunk on the excess that the United States provides. Think about if the United States falls in 1 hour of one day, the effects it'll have upon the entire earth. And these immigrants will be spread around the earth, especially the United States, stuck in these cities with no one to provide for them, no way out. They'll be fighting for their lives. And like in the last message, we're not to take up the sword. We're not to, those that are left here, the Christians that are left here, you're not to go fighting them. You're to help them. You're to preach the gospel, the three messages of the three angels. The nations drunk her wine, so the nations are going crazy. Suddenly, Babylon is fallen, shattered. Howl over her. When she falls, she'll fall suddenly, and she'll be shattered. And howl over her. Bring balm for her wound. Perhaps she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. Abandon her. Let's go, each one to his own country, for her judgment has reached up to heaven. God's telling people they're flooding here. They're flooding here, and they're going to winnow Babylon. They're going to be just a force of them there that's they're really trying to protect themselves, take care of themselves, feed themselves, but they're going to be stuck here. Think about the implications of that, saints. In Jeremiah 51:12, raise a banner at Babylon's walls. Raise a banner at Babylon's walls. It's happening now with these foreigners that are flooding in. You see it on the news all the time. They cross the river with their flags of their multiple countries. They come into this country like an invading army with their flags, not coming here to support America, to be a part of America. They're coming here because the government's giving them everything they could want. They're providing these luxury hotel rooms, but they're crossing the border with their flag flying. Raise a banner, raise a flag at Babylon's walls. And that's what they're doing. Strengthen the guards, station watchmen, prepare ambushes, for Adonai has both planned and accomplished what he spoke about the Babylonians. You dwelling by many waters, speaking about Babylon, speaking about the United States, you dwelling by many waters, rich in treasures, your end is come. The measure of your covetousness, it has been such a coveting country. We're all coveting. It's all about money. It's all about everything you can have. Adonai has sworn by himself, surely I will fill you with men like a locust swarms. I was just seeing a report on the news that just last week, 10,000 illegal immigrants crossed the border. Lots of them carrying their own flags like an army. Most of them, it said, most of them were adult, military-aged men. Surely I will fill Babylon with men like a locust swarms, and they will shout cheers over you. Think about if the United States falls. Iran, so many Middle Eastern countries, Russia, China, North Korea, so many people will be shouting shouts and cheers over it. But those in Babylon, those stuck in Babylon that are from other countries, we're going to see more of this in Isaiah chapter 13, speaking about the fall of Babylon. Isaiah 13:3, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, that they might rejoice. God is calling these people. God's making a plan. He's called his people out of Babylon. So many Christians want to say, oh, I can't stand that. I wouldn't even want to hear that. I love America. It's the world. It's Babylon. It's going to fall. He's calling us to come out, to walk with him, to repent and prepare the way of the Lord and be caught up in the pre-tribulation rapture. But those that love the world and the things of the world will be caught up in these things. Isaiah 13:4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of kingdoms, of Gentiles gathered together. The Lord of hosts orders the host of the battle. So you see this. You have this multitude as of a great people, foreigners from every nation, a tumultuous noise of kingdoms, people from different kingdoms, Gentiles gathered together. The Lord of hosts has commanded this. Verse 5, they come from a far land, from the farthest horizons. They're coming, it says, into Babylon. They come from afar. From the farthest horizons. They're coming from China, from Africa, from Ukraine, from the south, from the north, from the east. They're all coming into Babylon. They come from a far land and from the farthest horizons. The Lord and the instruments of his indignation, they're coming as the instruments of the indignation of God to destroy the whole land, especially in the United States. They've bussed them to every little town and area. It's going to be a complete destruction as Babylon falls. Where it isn't completely destroyed from the asteroid, these armies from around the world, mainly men of military age, have been spread across the entire United States. And like I said, I'm not against immigration. I'm not a pro or for or against this here. I'm just talking about the results. That when the United States falls suddenly in 1 hour of one day, and these tens of millions of people are here from other countries waving their own flag. The top 10 countries in the world combined, their military's only about 15 million men. We've let tens of millions of military age young men enter the country, and they are getting used to, they want to, they expect to be provided for. Phones, transportation, hotel rooms, even luxury hotel rooms. What's going to happen when that's all taken instantly? They'll be stuck here. They'll be fighting for themselves, for their people, for their food. And this is all in here. They come from a far land, from the farthest horizons, the Lord, and the instruments of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. How? For the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as destruction from the Almighty. Therefore all hands shall be faint, and every heart of man will melt as they see this. Bad enough that Babylon falls in 1 hour of one day. But then these armies of these young men flying their flags from their country are spread across the entire, just the United States. It would be an invading force equal to the top 10 militaries in the entire world. Doubled. It's more than double that. Verse 8. And they shall be filled with terror, the ones that are left here. Anguish and pain shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that is in travail. They shall be amazed one at another, their faces aflame. They'll be amazed, the ones that are left here, Christians and non-Christians, that Babylon really has fallen and that what's going on. They'll stare at one another, their faces aflame. Verse 9. Behold, the day of the Lord comes, cruel and with wrath and fierce anger. And this is speaking about Babylon, not tribulation upon Israel or upon Christians. This is talking about Babylon. Behold, the day of the Lord comes, cruel and with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the earth desolate, and he will destroy the sinners out of it. Verse 10. For this reason the stars of heaven and the lights thereof shall not shine, and the sun shall be darkened in its going forth, and the moon shall not give its light. This is talking about Babylon. As Babylon falls, as that asteroid hits, as the cloud rises up, it'll block out the sun and the moon. That's what it's talking about there. Verse 11, listen here, saints. Isaiah 13:11. And I will punish the world and the iniquity upon the wicked. By the fall of Babylon, God will be bringing punishment upon the world, because all the world's so tied into, dependent upon, needs for military, money, food, security. Everything's dependent upon the United States. And I will punish the world and iniquity upon the wicked, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the strong. And then look at the last part of verse 14. They shall each man look upon his own people. You can see the people from Africa getting together because that's the only people they will be able to depend on. You can see the ones from South America getting together, Mexico getting together, China getting together. That's the way things go, especially in the United States. Everything's so divided. All of these groups will try to come together to their own people and flee each one unto his own land, to his own people. If Babylon falls, they won't be able to leave. It took them lots of money, lots of trouble, many weeks and months to get here. They're not just instantly going to be gone, but they will gather together in groups with their own people, and it will be causing these battles and wars as they try to protect themselves. The gangs in America will be trying to kill them and take advantage of them. And everybody will be stealing and thieving. And they'll be trying to protect themselves and their own groups from their own countries. Because we've allowed them to come in. It's part of God's plan. They carried their own flags across the river, across the border. And we, the United States government, gave them phones and money and free transportation, like an army spread out. We brought them in like Trojan horses and sat them here. And like I said, I'm not against them. It's going to be bad for them. Christians need to be preaching the gospel, those three messages, those three angels to them to get them saved, that they can come out of Babylon and that they cannot be part of the problem when Babylon falls. And in Isaiah 13:19, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, Babylon, the glory of the world, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It's going to be from that asteroid hitting. That's what will block out the sun and the moon. That will only be in a localized area, but will cause the sudden downfall of Babylon. And these immigrants will be in despair. They won't have a support. They are expecting their luxury rooms, their transportation, their phones. But it's going to all come to an end in 1 hour of one day. And these invading armies, more than, think of that, saints, 2-3 times more have flooded into the United States from other countries, carrying their own flags in support of their countries. They flooded in, and it's 2-3 times more than the armies of the top 10 countries combined in the world. And we've spread them across the United States. And it's not just here, because as Babylon falls, around the world, these immigrants in these cities, in these towns, all the structure's going to fall. They're going to get in their own groups and try to make their own armies, these 200 million man armies, and support themselves and feed themselves and protect themselves. That's what this vast, huge migration that's happening all around the world, and especially to the United States. It's an invading force. It's coming. It's part of God's plan.